when you think about using your gifts in terms of service, I think it changes the perspective of how you operate in the world.
Real special guest joining me now is Alexandra Silber. She is a Grammy-nominated artist. She is a musical theater veteran of Broadway and the West End. She's an amazing author as well. And she's a Detroit girl. Alexandra, how are you?
Oh, I'm so well, under the circumstances, thriving. So
Yeah,
thank
tell
you.
us about, I mean, you're in New York right now.
I
Can you give
am.
us an idea of, gosh, of everyday life for you right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's unprecedented, incredibly strange times, and it definitely feeling the being in the presence of the American epicenter at the moment. Who knows what the next couple of weeks will bring for the rest of our brave country. Um, but yeah, I think this concept of New York as the city that never sleeps is a city in a state right now of imposed Sabbath and rest, and of course people dealing with that in a myriad of different ways. So many people come to the Big Apple for its energy and
Yeah.
vitality, and even just trying to get a little fresh air last Saturday night, the quietest streets I think I've ever seen in my life. And people being very respectful of social distancing, and I think really taking on the notion that staying home saves lives.
As an artist, though, as someone who performs and gives a gift that other people take in and that moves them, this has got to be a hard moment as well. I feel like even online, we're trying to find our moments of beauty and of joy. And as a performer, how are you dealing with that?
Well, I think the thing, first of all, of course, like the closing down of the theatrical communities across the country, but led by Broadway, of course, here
Mhm.
in New York, was a devastating reality check, I think, for the seriousness of this pandemic. And one of the things that you're absolutely sort of circling here is that performance, by its very nature, um, its virtue and its service is that it occurs live, and that it occurs in a community setting. And that is a tradition that goes back to ancient Greece, that you gather the community together to have a communal cathartic experience. And right now we are barred from that, and we're having a community experience, but it's in isolation. And I think it's very, very unusual and very painful to not be able to share it, touch each other, hold each other, and experience things in real time together. um, and I think to answer your question, my role in that as a performer is to say, I am a performer, but I'm also a multifaceted artist that can create and provide art in other ways and serve in other ways, uh, use my language, raise my voice, use storytelling in ways that doesn't necessarily occur live. And there are virtues in those art forms and services too.
Yeah, you come back to Detroit and you've done groups with kids, and you've helped them as they've found their storytelling voice through music and through art. And when kids dream of doing what you're doing, and knowing that you came from Detroit and kind of what your path has been, what do you tell young performers who have that in them and are told, oh, maybe sensible jobs or a different pathway? What do you say?
I don't begrudge any um, I don't begrudge any parent or any adult that looks to youth with the lens of their own experience. And I genuinely think that when people say be sensible, be realistic, they are trying to do and offer what is best for those young people based on their experience. I will just say that I feel blessed to say that that is not my experience. And I would love to just offer an alternative voice to that and simply say, um, every person on this earth is endowed with gifts and endowed with a life force and a fire that hopefully inspires the question, why am I here and how may I serve? And when you think about using your gifts in terms of service, I think it changes the perspective of how you operate in the world. And for me, while it is a wonderful feeling to perform, I really do often think about the people whose catharsis I'm facilitating, the people that I'm moving, the people that I am able to allow to think about their emotional lives with a bit of distance, the emotions I might be able to shift, and of course illuminating the stories of the people that I'm portraying, sometimes who never got a chance to speak for themselves. um, and I think that when it comes to speaking to young people, it's important to recognize that using your gifts in the most in for the highest purpose possible is always going to lead you to right action. And I think, to encapsulate that, I would say very often in society we're told to pursue success, and we have a lot of conventional concepts of what success is. It's fiscal, it looks like this, the house looks like that, the clothes look like that. But truly, if I could offer anything from my experience, it's that success is not about what you do, it's about how you feel about what you do. And to pursue excellence often lands you in the middle of that kind of successful feeling.
So then how do you pick what your projects are? I mean, you've done everything from stage work to, I mean, you're a writer. You've written 2 books
Yeah, yeah.
and you performed on the Grammys. So then how do you pick that path? Because you've obviously been really deliberate about what you choose to pursue and then how it impacts you.
Sure. I think again, like I try to move forward with obviously pursuing opportunities as they present themselves to me. But I think also trying to reflect upon, does this opportunity reflect my values, right? And I will say too that I don't always knock it out of the park. I'm not always perfect about
Is
um,
that hard as a performer to admit that though? Because,
oh, I mean,
oh my gosh, yeah?
course, I don't, no one's perfect. I'm not sitting on a mountain with ultimate wisdom. I'm learning just like everybody else. And I've taken jobs out of fear. I've taken jobs for health insurance. Just like anybody. And I just have to say though that the wisdom that has trickled down from the choices that I've made that felt pure and in line with my values, and the choices that, upon reflection, definitely were fear-based, feel different, and I know the difference, and I can use that information to go forward. And I think that that is about as good as anybody can do.
Mhm. Now, we know that you're not going to sing in your apartment right now for neighbors' sake and for all sorts of reasons. But you passed along a song to us, so we're going to be able
Yeah.
to, put on the air. And I guess, how would you describe it to us? And kind of what
Yeah,
your next projects are once we all get through this, which we will.
we
Though it's
will.
sometimes hard to realize, I think.
Absolutely. So I have selected a song that I really think reflects this time. It's called Lost in the Stars. It's the title song from the musical Lost in the Stars by Kurt Weill. And it's based on Cry the Beloved Country, the novel about South African apartheid. The song is sung by an African priest when he is at his absolute lowest moment. He's reflecting on his faith, he's reflecting on his place in the universe, and he's just looking up at the stars and wondering what comes next. And in his exploration and in his doubt, finds a kernel of faith. And I just feel like the song really reflects where we are right now, and hopefully, in dark moments for anyone, will provide a little bit of light.
I want to ask you about your first book that you wrote, called White Hot Grief Parade,
Yeah,
and was coming out of the death of your dad
yeah,
from cancer when you were 18 years old. A lot of people are comparing the feelings that people have right now to grief, the
absolutely.
stages of grief and grieving things that we might have wanted to do or can't. How would you compare and writing so articulately when you were younger about that experience in your life, about where we're kind of facing things now.
You know, I have to say, one of the things that has been staggering about this experience is absolutely identifying that we are experiencing a sociological collective grieving experience, and it's really us shaking us, because it's like being at this massive family funeral where you might be able to mitigate your own emotional response to the grieving that we're having, but then like there's Aunt Franny and there's Uncle Henry, and they're each having their own experience, and you don't quite know how to mitigate responding to their rage or denial or aggressive optimism. I think ultimately, if I've learned anything, that by tabling and refusing to experience the reality of grief, grief doesn't go anywhere. It waits in the hall, and it does push-ups and gets stronger while it waits. And I think what I would say is be gentle and be kind with yourself and gracious with others. Not everybody is going to have the same set of skills, the same capacity to weather adversity that each individual may or may not have. I feel armed to bear this on an individual level, and I feel armed to bear it and hold space for other people because of the experiences that I've had as a very young person. But not everybody has those. And I feel like I can be generous with others in that way, but not everybody else has those. And I think I would offer, allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, don't judge it, and be gracious with other people as they go through their own experience as well.
It's a beautiful way to say it. And again, because everyone is coping with it in a different way, and we're all impacted in a different way, and it doesn't make it any less than what other people are feeling. But
Totally.
I'm so glad that that we're going to be able to share your voice. And
Oh,
again, I think that there is something about music that soothes
agreed.
right now, even if it takes you back to a different time or you hear something different.
Yeah,
There's something about the arts that I think that we all need to remember, that whether it's looking at your favorite painting or hearing your favorite song or belting out the musical theater number from high school,
exactly.
that there's something internal there.
Absolutely. I think something about the arts is that it allows us to be able to express ourselves beyond our average capacity in daily life. And it's why the arts haven't gone anywhere. They're a huge part of serving. One of the things I've been thinking about a lot is right now, I feel like our society is talking about survival in a very real and literal way. I think one of the things that the arts does so beautifully is it reminds us that we have a reason to live on the other side of survival, and that life is worth living, and that it's beautiful and worth fighting for.
Well, let's leave it right there. Alexandra
Perfect.
Silber, thank you so much for being
Thank
with me.
you.
I want you to be well. We can't wait to see what projects you're going to be doing in the next couple of months when we all keep moving forward, and it will be good to see.
Indeed. And all my love to my hometown of Detroit.
Oh, and you know what? You got to show me your t-shirt.
Oh, yes. And I especially wore my Detroit Tigers t-shirt.
I love it.
Tigers forever.
Yeah, we're going to play ball someday, and it's going
Someday.
to feel so good to see it.
It'll be the biggest party in the world.
All right. Well, you take care and be well, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you. Bye.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.